I'm here to talk tonight is about political commercials. That's where most of the money goes in any political campaign.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down the most aspirational, important, archaic, less than optimal, or just plain odd aspects of electing an American president.
But when Election Day came, there were unexpected obstacles.
Number 20. Ballot access laws. There are significant hurdles for third-party and independent candidates aiming to appear on election ballots. These regulations, which vary by state, often require candidates to gather a substantial number of signatures from registered voters within a specific time frame.
Well, how are you going to get on the ballot?
That's where y'all come into play, my friends. I need 5,625 signatures.
This process demands considerable resources, organization, and time, making it a daunting task for those without the backing of major political parties. The complexity and variability of these laws across states can also lead to confusion and inconsistency in their application. While intended to ensure that only serious candidates reach the ballot, critics argue that these laws disproportionately disadvantage smaller political parties and independents, limiting the diversity of choices available to voters.
So, I hear you, but these elections often do come down to a binary choice between the Democrat and the Republican.
Number 19. Viability of third-party candidates. Laws aren't the only steep obstacles for candidates outside the entrenched two-party system.
Will you be on the ballot in Michigan? Will you be on the ballot in Wisconsin? I don't think the People's Party was on the ballot in all 50 states last time. Are you hoping to get on the ballot in every state or even just the battleground states?
These candidates, if they actually make it on the ballot, are in a constant struggle for visibility, funding, and access to debates. It's also important to note that the influence of these candidates, while highlighting the plurality of political opinions, can also lead to unintended consequences in closely contested elections. By drawing votes that might otherwise go to major parties, they can inadvertently affect the outcome, and are sometimes accused of acting as spoilers.
To be fair, Johnson's anger is understandable. Just dismissing third-party candidates as spoilers shuts down debate.
This can foster voter frustration, particularly among those who feel votes for a third-party candidate inadvertently benefit their least preferred major party option. Number 18. Participation.
For decades, America's youngest voters, those under the age of 30, were the least likely to show up at the polls.
Voter turnout in elections often falls below levels seen in other democratic countries, a phenomenon that raises concerns about civic engagement and representativeness. Several factors contribute to this low participation, including voter apathy, disenfranchisement, and obstacles such as registration requirements and weekday voting. This lack of turnout can skew election results towards the preferences of more active demographic groups, potentially leaving significant portions of the population underrepresented. Efforts to increase turnout focus on making voting more accessible through early voting, mail-in ballots, and voter education campaigns. Addressing these challenges is crucial for ensuring that election outcomes accurately reflect the will of the entire electorate, enhancing the legitimacy of the democratic process.
That level of youth turnout had a major effect, resulting in one of the highest levels of voter turnout for a midterm over the last 5 decades.
Number 17. 22nd Amendment. Ratified on February 27, 1951, the 22nd Amendment sets terms limits for the U.S. presidency, stating that an individual may only be elected to the nation's highest office twice.
It must kind of stink, though, that you can't run, 3 times.
No, actually, I think it's a good idea. If I ran a third time, it'd be sort of like doing a third Hangover movie.
Additionally, anyone who has occupied or acted in this role for more than 2 years of another's term can seek election only once more. This measure was a direct response to Franklin D. Roosevelt's 4 terms, aiming to institutionalize the 2-term tradition initiated by George Washington. By doing so, it seeks to prevent power consolidation, promoting a dynamic leadership cycle and supporting the ethos of regular, peaceful transitions.
Regardless of whether you think they prevent tyranny or limit democracy, presidential term limits are here and are unlikely to change anytime soon.
Number 16. Faithless electors. The possibility of faithless electors presents an intriguing anomaly within the American system. These electors diverge from their pledged commitment, choosing to vote for a different candidate than the one that they were elected to support. Although rare, their actions underscore potential vulnerabilities in the electoral process, raising questions about the balance between elector discretion and voter intent.
In 2016, 10 members of the Electoral College voted or tried to vote for a different candidate than they were pledged to.
Most states have enacted laws to penalize or prevent faithless voting, emphasizing the importance of adhering to the electorate's choice. Despite legal safeguards, the phenomenon persists, highlighting ongoing debates over the Electoral College's role and the extent to which electors should exercise independent judgment versus reflecting the popular vote within their states.
If we had numbers like that this year, when it looks like this could come down to less than 10 electoral votes, it could upend the entire election.
Number 15, swing states.
What's a swing state and why do they matter? They got the name because it's hard to predict how they'll vote.
Battleground states hold a pivotal role in elections due to their unpredictable voting patterns. Unlike states with strong partisan leanings, swing states are up for grabs, and this makes them fiercely contested territories where elections are often won or lost. Campaigns invest heavily in these areas, tailoring messages to sway undecided voters and maximize turnout. The demographic, economic, and political diversity within swing states can make them microcosms of the broader national electorate, giving them disproportionate influence over the election's outcome.
Pretty sweet, huh? What the hell is this? What's it look like? Hundreds of thousands of votes from all the swing states.
Number 14, age, citizenship, and residence requirements.
You might think that being elected to the highest office in the land comes with a lengthy list of requirements. You'd be wrong. Officially, there are only 3.
The Constitution sets specific eligibility criteria for candidates to ensure they have a substantial connection to the country and its people. Candidates must be at least 35 years old, demonstrating maturity and likely experience in governance or public service. They must be natural-born citizens, a requirement aimed at safeguarding national loyalty and security interests. Additionally, candidates are required to have resided in the United States for at least 14 years, ensuring they are familiar with and invested in the nation's affairs. These criteria reflect the framers' intention to balance inclusivity with the need for a president deeply rooted in and committed to the United States and its principles.
Do you meet the job description? If so, take a shot. Seems like everybody else is. What you got to lose?
Number 13. The House decides in a tie.
It's a tie.
If you had to choose, it's up to the delegate.
In the rare event of an Electoral College tie or no candidate achieving the necessary majority of electoral votes, the Constitution delegates the responsibility to the House of Representatives. This contingency process, outlined in the 12th Amendment, grants each state delegation in the House 1 vote, requiring a majority of states to elect a president. Representatives from each state must come to a consensus on their vote, highlighting the importance of state unity in this unique situation. The Senate, meanwhile, chooses the vice president under similar rules.
If you become president, would Claire Underwood remain as vice president?
Not if she wants what's best for the country.
But given the 12th Amendment, would you have a choice?
This procedure underscores the balance of power between the states and the federal government, ensuring a democratic resolution to electoral deadlocks. Number 12, inauguration gap. The lengthy wait between early November's Election Day and the inauguration on January 20th serves several vital functions in the U.S. electoral process.
Though the Doe administration doesn't officially take power for a few months, I wanted to let the people know that we're going to make the transition as painless as possible.
This period allows for the resolution of any disputes over election results, ensuring a clear and uncontested transition of power. Additionally, it provides time for the formal counting and certification of electoral votes by Congress, a critical step in the democratic process. This interval also facilitates the outgoing administration's orderly transfer of responsibilities to the incoming president, ensuring continuity in governance. Instituted to address practical and procedural necessities, this delay is a built-in feature of the American political system, reflecting its emphasis on stability and rule of law.
You're going to try to get the amendment passed in the House of Representatives before the term ends? Before the inauguration?
Number 11, winner takes all.
Texas and South Carolina, and 2 Democratic states, California and Massachusetts, are being sued over their systems of winner take all.
Utilized in all but 2 states, Maine and Nebraska, the winner-takes-all system fundamentally shapes American elections. Under this system, the presidential candidate receiving the majority of votes in a state secures all of that state's electoral votes. This method can lead to scenarios where a candidate wins the presidency without securing the nationwide popular vote, emphasizing strategic focus on key battleground states. Critics argue it skews representation and dampens voter enthusiasm in states with a strong majority for one party. Proponents, however, claim it simplifies the election process and promotes a two-party system.
We came to the Department of Political Science here at Trinity University to ask, would each and every vote actually count if the legal challenge is successful?
Number 10, Tuesday voting.
Most people are busy and at work. So how did this happen? Why do we vote on Tuesdays in November?
The tradition of casting ballots on a Tuesday is deeply embedded in America's traditions, originating from an era when voters traveled by horse and buggy. Established by Congress in 1845, this decision was based on the agricultural calendar, allowing farmers to avoid interfering with the Sabbath and market day, which was typically on Wednesday. Despite its seemingly archaic context in modern life, this practice persists despite proposals for change. Moving the voting day to the weekend or declaring it a national holiday has been suggested to increase turnout by making it easier for working Americans to participate. The resistance to changing this tradition highlights the challenges of modifying long-standing practices in the face of evolving societal needs.
And some want to change when we vote to a more convenient day to fit modern society.
Number 9, Disenfranchisement Laws. The issue of disenfranchisement, particularly regarding felons, highlights a significant and contentious aspect of the nation's elections. The variation in laws across states regarding the restoration of voting rights reflects broader debates about justice, rehabilitation, and citizenship. Disenfranchisement not only affects individuals' ability to participate in democracy, but also has broader societal implications, impacting community representation and contributing to systemic inequalities.
And very few of those people realized that nearly 30% of the black male population of Alabama today has permanently lost the right to vote as a result of a criminal conviction.
Efforts to reform these laws, such as through ballot initiatives and legislative changes, underscore the evolving conversation about the role of voting rights and the importance of ensuring that all citizens, regardless of their past mistakes, have the opportunity to have their voices heard.
There are more individuals that have come home and has turned their life completely around, or have discovered their life and is living a life. Look at them. Give them an opportunity.
Number 8, primaries and caucuses.
Every 4 years, American states hold either a primary election or caucuses, part of which is to choose that state's top Republican and Democratic presidential candidates.
The use of primaries and caucuses in the United States is a unique aspect of its democracy, allowing members of political parties to have a direct say in choosing their candidates. This system, however, is marked by significant variability and complexity, with rules differing from state to state and between parties.
If after the first round of grouping a candidate doesn't have 15% support, they are deemed non-viable, and supporters in their group must either join another candidate's group or convince caucus goers in other groups to join theirs.
Caucuses in particular are criticized for their lack of transparency and accessibility, often requiring participants to engage in lengthy discussions and negotiations. The diversity of primaries and caucuses reflects the decentralized nature of the country, but also poses challenges for voter participation and understanding, leading to calls for reform and simplification. Number 7, complex voting systems. The diversity of ballot designs and voting systems contributes to the unique landscape of the country's elections, but also introduces challenges for voters and administrators. This complexity can lead to confusion, errors in design, and disputes over counting, as seen in notable cases such as the 2000 presidential contest.
It was mass confusion. At 7 o'clock when the polls opened, we knew that there was a problem because people were walking out of the polls distraught, calling their husbands, calling their wives, telling them to be careful.
The use of different technologies, from paper ballots to electronic machines, further complicates the process, raising concerns about security, reliability, and voter confidence. Efforts to standardize and simplify procedures, enhance security measures, and improve voter education are crucial to ensuring the integrity of the process and maintaining public trust in the outcomes.
It has to be a grassroots effort
to persuade the people that represent us that this is not what we want. We want a system we can trust.
Number 6, no automatic registration.
I showed the poll worker my identification, and he looked at the roll, and he looked at me, and he said, "We have a problem. You're not on the roll."
Contrary to many democracies that automatically enroll citizens, the United States places the responsibility on individuals themselves. This procedure varies significantly across states, with some offering online enrollment and others requiring in-person visits to government offices, creating a patchwork of regulations that can confuse and disenfranchise potential voters.
Either not having their voter registration card, going to their precinct that they had voted at before, and now being told that they weren't on the roster, that their names have been purged.
The absence of unified automatic enrollment is seen by many as a barrier to full participation, contributing to disparities in turnout among different demographic groups. Advocates for reform argue that automatic enrollment could streamline the process, increase participation rates, and strengthen the process by making it more inclusive and accessible. Number 5, campaign spending. The financial demands of competing for the nation's highest office are unparalleled. This requirement for substantial fundraising has profound implications, raising concerns about the influence of wealthy donors and the potential for corruption.
You are spending millions of dollars buying politicians, spreading misinformation, and influencing legislation for your personal gain.
The reliance on extensive advertising, paid staff, and nationwide travel means that contenders often spend a significant portion of their campaign courting donors rather than engaging with voters directly. This dynamic has prompted discussions about reform, including the implementation of public financing options and limits on spending to reduce the outsized impact of money on outcomes and ensure a more equitable and representative process.
When you have a political campaign that costs $200 million, you owe someone something somewhere down the line. That's why I refuse to run television commercials.
Number 4, influence of lobby groups. Lobby groups and political action committees, or PACs, play a significant role in elections, leveraging resources to influence policy and public opinion.
The head of PR told me that our company funded super PACs on both sides during the last election.
Just so it's fluffed.
Their involvement in the process is a double-edged sword, providing a means for interest groups to participate in democracy while also raising concerns about the potential for undue influence over elected officials. The Citizens United ruling by the Supreme Court amplified these concerns by allowing unlimited spending on advocacy, further entrenching the role of money in politics. Critics argue that this environment undermines the principle of one person, one vote, as the voice of ordinary citizens is drowned out by the financial power of a few.
Gentlemen, we're really counting on your support. The guys at Goldman Sachs are prepared to donate $500,000 to your super PAC. Provided, of course, you pick up the phone anytime we call.
Number 3, impediments to voting.
For ease of voting, speed and accuracy of vote. It eliminates long lines and confusion at the polls.
Lengthy waits at polling places have become a symbol of the challenges facing the nation's voting system, reflecting issues with the infrastructure, resource allocation, and administration. These delays are not only inconveniences, but also potential barriers to participation, disproportionately affecting low-income and minority communities.
This man had never been arrested, the minister in the community, but yet they had identified him as a felon.
The causes of lengthy waits are multifaceted, including outdated machines, a shortage of locations, and inadequate staffing, which can be exacerbated by high turnout. Addressing these issues requires investment in infrastructure, better planning and management of locations, and policies to expand early and mail-in ballots, ensuring that all citizens can exercise their right efficiently. Number 2, long campaign periods.
Guys, if this thing is going to work, then it's got to fit me. It's got to be my campaign, okay?
This is not your campaign.
The United States is notable for its exceptionally lengthy presidential campaign periods, a phenomenon that has no parallel in other major democracies. This extended timeline allows candidates to traverse the nation, engaging with a diverse electorate across a range of issues. However, it also demands significant financial resources and personal endurance, potentially disadvantaging otherwise qualified contenders who lack the means or desire to sustain such prolonged efforts. These marathon periods are often criticized for contributing to polarization and voter apathy, as the constant barrage of messaging can desensitize or overwhelm voters, raising questions about the optimal balance between thorough vetting of candidates and maintaining engagement.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the campaign. It's going to be a whole new ballgame, so brace yourselves, people.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications. Number 1. Electoral College.
Your vote gets counted with the rest of the votes in the country and then gets sent off to the Electoral College. What's that? The Electoral College are a bunch of officials who do the voting for us.
There's no doubt that the Electoral College stands as one of the most distinctive and controversial features of the American process, often baffling observers both domestically and abroad. Established by the Constitution as a compromise, it was intended to balance power between larger and smaller states. However, its relevance and effectiveness has been called into question, especially when the winner of the popular vote did not secure the presidency. Efforts to reform or abolish the college have gained momentum, advocating for a more direct representation of the popular will. Yet, the complexity of amending the Constitution makes it incredibly difficult to change.
As it turned out, there's a virtually unprecedented tie in the Electoral College, a somewhat arcane institution that many scholars believe we should do away with.
What do you think is the strangest aspect of American presidential elections? Let us know in the comments.
Funny how voting works in this country, isn't it, Cal? Each one of these, a person.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.